Hello everybody, it's Kara from Wild Book Garden, and today I'm here with my kind of miscellaneous favorites video for the things I read in 2021. So this is going to be favorite poetry, favorite plays, favorite graphic novels, and favorite picture books. And I actually don't have many things to talk about. This should be a shorter video than my favorites usually are, which tells me that I probably should have been reading more of these throughout the year, but I did read some really great ones. So I only really have two poetry picks for the year. One of them you've heard me talk about many times. That is The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman. I have not officially read this copy though, because basically whenever I want to read this poem, I just go back and watch her performance on Inauguration Day. This and the other poetry book I'm going to talk about it's a really great example of how you can have hope for the future and love while also acknowledging suffering and really grappling with the past. I think both of those things are essential. I think you have to acknowledge the horrible things that have happened and continue to happen in order to have hope that feels genuine. And I think that this poem does that beautifully. I think Amanda Gorman is a fantastic writer and performer. I have heard based on other reviews that which makes sense, this poem is probably not going to hit as hard for you if you're not in the US, if you're not from the United States, just because of how personal some parts of it are, which I totally get. I do think as a piece of poetry it is beautiful on its own as well, but the emotional impact might vary person to person. But I really love that one. I have listened to that so many times this year and shed many tears every time. And then the other poetry one I wanted to talk about is kind of a poetry/essay, and that is Light for the World to See, 1,000 Words on Race and Hope by Kwame Alexander. I'm really grateful to Ashley at Bookish Realm who first brought this to my attention. And this is another one I listened to on audio actually. He narrates it himself. And similarly to The Hill We Climb, this is a piece that really does grapple with racism in America and the long history and continuing present of that in the United States, while also having some moments of hope that we can do better. This is definitely one I plan to listen to again, and it just really stood out for me. Both of these I listened to in January, and they have stuck with me throughout the year. I just think they were really fantastically done. Then I only have one play to talk about, and that is The Book of Will by Lauren Gunderson. I will link my wrap-up where I talk about this play because I do a whole review on it, but I absolutely adored this. As I've said now a couple times, Lauren Gunderson is a big hit or big miss playwright for me. Her things either really work for me or they really don't, but this was a huge hit, obviously. It's a play about several of Shakespeare's friends after his death who decide to collect his works, collect his plays into one volume as a way to kind of honor his legacy and their friendship with him, and it's so beautiful. Obviously if you're a Shakespeare lover, you're gonna enjoy those parts too, but I think even if you're not, you could still really enjoy this because it's a play about friendship and legacies and grief. It's about love and loss and how you move past that. The characters are so wonderful and their relationships are so complex. There's also a lot of fantastic humor in this play. I just love it, and I really love all of the things it has to say about why storytelling matters to us, what we get from telling stories, what stories mean, the value of live theater. This is a play that I really, really loved, and even though we know I cry at a lot of things, it's very, very rare for me to read a play and for that to make me cry, but this is one of the few that has done that. Yeah, if you can get your hands on it, I would just highly recommend this one. I loved it. And then for my picture book mentions, the first one is one I don't actually have it with me, but I think I showed the art in the wrap-up where I talk about it, so I will link that down below as well. But that is Where Three Oceans Meet by Rajni Laraka. And who illustrated that? Let me look that up right now. The illustrator is Arkana Srinivasan, and I thought this was lovely. The illustrations are beautiful. This picture book is about a young girl and her mother and her grandmother who all visit this place in India where there are three oceans that come together and that meet. And the way that symbolizes the generations as well is just really lovely, and I just think this was a really beautiful one about India and about family and generations, and definitely recommend that one. I also want to mention one that I just read in December, and I kind of picked this up on a whim because it was it's if you ordered, I think it was from Barnes & Noble, where if you ordered some kids books or middle grade books, you could add this for a really low price, and I fell for it. But I really enjoyed it. This is called Extra Yarn by Mac Barnett, illustrated by John Klassen. It was apparently a Caldecott honor book. That's cool. And I really like the illustration style. It's mainly dark colors, but then the really bright colors of the yarn, because it's about a young girl who gets a box that has yarn in it, and she makes some things for herself, but then she has a little extra, and how she starts like spreading that extra around by making things for people. And it's just a really lovely book. Definitely enjoyed this one and would recommend it. One I read near the beginning of the year is The Legendary Miss Lena Horne by Carol Boston Weatherford, art by Elizabeth Zunin. I did not know very much about Lena Horne before reading this, and I really enjoyed this. I really liked getting to know more about her, about obviously her singing career and how important singing was to her, but also her social activism, which was a huge part of her life. And I did really love the illustration style for this one. Let me find a good example. I really liked that. So yeah, I just really would recommend this one as well. And then probably my favorite picture book for the year, I just adored this, was Gustavo the Shy Ghost by Flavia Z. Drago. This book is obviously like themed around Day of the Dead, but I think you can read it any time of the year because it is so lovely and wholesome and beautiful. I really loved the art style, as with all of these. I just really enjoyed that, and it's about this ghost named Gustavo who is very shy and quiet, and he doesn't really have any friends because he's so quiet, and he decides that he's gonna try and make some friends, and it's just precious. I loved it. One of my favorite things I read this year. And then I think my biggest category is actually graphic novels, which I don't read very many, but I'm clearly very good at picking ones I enjoy because I think every graphic novel I read this year has ended up on this list, I'm pretty sure. So I think that's great. The first one I have is Huda F Are You by Huda Fahmy. This is a semi-autobiographical graphic novel that I talked about in a wrap-up very recently. And we follow Huda as she and her family move to Dearborn, Michigan, which is a high Muslim population, and Huda finds herself going to a school where for the first time, she's not the only hijabi girl. There's actually a ton of girls who wear hijab, so it's about Huda kind of like figuring out how to define herself more for herself instead of like in relation to other people. It's also about like identity and religion and family and Islamophobia, but there's a lot of moments of like lightness and humor as well. I just really enjoyed the humor overall. The illustration style is like kind of comics, and I really liked it. I definitely want to read more things by Huda Fahmy, and I just really enjoyed this one. I also wanted to mention Through the Moon, a Dragon Prince graphic novel by Peter Wartman and illustrated by Zante Buma. I just think this is a really impressive graphic novel in the way that it's actually, like, it actually matters for the story. Definitely do not read this until you have watched all 3 seasons of The Dragon Prince that are currently out, because there are massive spoilers in it. But if you have, I would really recommend reading this one because it's a really, like, I really like the art, and I think they did a good job of, like, showing the characters. Let me see if I can show something that's not spoilery. Like, I think the writer and the illustrator did a good job of capturing the characters and their humor and their like relationships, but I would also recommend it because I do think this is going to be pretty important for where season 4 starts. And yeah, I just really enjoyed that one. It's a show I love, and I was glad that the graphic novel lived up to that. And then one of my favorite things I read this year, I have a whole video on it, is Garlic and the Vampire by Brie Paulson. This is just like so adorable and heartwarming and lovely, and it just makes my heart very happy. We're following this little garlic girl who her vegetable friends decide that she should be the one to go and confront this big scary vampire who just moved into their village, or like around their village, and she doesn't want to go. She's really scared, but she finally agrees to go. And then when she gets there, it seems that maybe the vampire is not so mean and scary after all. And it's a story about friendship and not judging people, and like, it's just so wholesome. I love it. I really loved the art style as well, and it's just like a very cozy experience. I can't recommend this enough. It was just lovely. And also, all of the graphic novels I'm talking about, one of the things I really love about them is the way I can follow them. It's a little bit hard to describe, but one of the reasons I don't read a lot of graphic novels is because for some reason it's hard for me to track a story when it's in a primarily visual format. It's like, give me words and I'm fine, but like if I have to, like a lot of graphic novels, I just struggle to like follow the story or get really invested in the story when it's primarily through pictures. And so one of the things I really love about all of these graphic novels is that I was really able to follow them. So I don't know how to quantify that, but I really liked it. And then also a big highlight of my year was that I finally read both of the Artemis Fowl graphic novels that are currently out. This is, the original stories were by Owen Holford. This is adapted by Michael Morecci and illustrated by Stephen Gilpin. So these are the new graphic novels, not the old ones that were terrible. And yeah, I just love these. It's one of my favorite series. These 2 books are 2 of my favorites in the series, so I unsurprisingly really loved both graphic novel adaptations, and I also think the illustrator did a fantastic job. And I also think the way that the illustrator like used really interesting formatting things to communicate aspects of the story. Like, I think that really added something too, and this just was a really wonderful experience because Artemis Fowl is a series I love. It's one I have reread many, many times, and getting to read these new graphic novels is like the perfect combination of a reread and reading something new in a series I love that I thought was over, if that makes sense. So yeah, absolutely loved both of these. So those are my favorites for plays, poetry, picture books, and graphic novels. Yeah, not a lot this time around. I definitely want to read more in these categories in the coming year, but I do think I did a good job of like picking things I would enjoy from those categories. So like my hit rate was high, even if my pool of options was not. Please comment down below and let me know if you have read any of these, what you thought of them, or if you're going to pick them up, or let me know one of your favorites in one of these categories. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!